Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin Show. It is Hump Day Wednesday. We had our Taco Tuesday trivia last night. Didn't do so well. Fourth place. No, there were more than 4 teams, but hopefully we'll do better next week. Totally off topic today. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Google victory. We'll talk about gold. We'll talk about the broader markets and maybe what gold has to do with it. But I don't know why I wanted to start today's show, but a friend of mine who I was actually on the trading floor back in the late 90s sent me a video today. And, I just find it remarkable, and I'm sure some of you have been on this, path as well, where people from your past have done some really good things, right? I'm sure people from your high school experiences have gone on to do just amazing things and become incredibly professional, successful, and just, they're the apex. And you go to other friends, you look back and you go, they're at the bottom of the barrel. Absolute losers, low life, and nothing but problems. And you guys might remember, I was telling you about a guy that I used to sit next to on the trading floor, a hothead kid who was on ABC World News Tonight and made $60,000 in one day, live on camera. And the reality was this guy had, in my opinion, a personality disorder. He was always really crazy. But, when you are just trying to learn how to become a trader and you see a guy making, $30,000 a clip, $50,000 a clip, that's the guy I wanted to be friends with. So I actually became pretty good friends with this guy. And it was great for me because, he was making tons of money. So not only to have a mentor and kind of a coach, but I also got to sit there and watch what he did and ride his coattails. And of course, when he makes all this money, he takes you out and he's taking you to lavish dinners and parties, and it was just fun, crazy. Well, that same guy that literally back in 1998 was on top of the world. Yeah, I would say he'd be on top of the world. You're 28, 29 years old making $60,000 in a day. I think you'd call yourself top of the world right there. This guy started having some problems. I knew he was unstable, but, time goes by and I found out he was doing check fraud and things like that. I got a video today. Murderer. Not only a murderer, but on camera testifying, admitting that he killed this guy. And it's like, wow. I had to stop and think about the paths and the choices that we make in our lives. And sometimes, you look back and you're like, man, how the heck did someone go from being a good kid to a murderer? And I actually do know a couple murderers, friends of my childhood, have been in that racket, which is just absolutely wild. But, anyway, I had to throw it out there because it was just one of those things where I just went, gosh, that's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. So anyway, go out there, do good things, and distance yourself from those people that are kind of crazy. But man, convicted murder, and it's weird. He's all tattooed up, doesn't look anything like himself. He's just something got into his head. And he's a different person. All right. On that note, sorry, we're not here to talk psychology. It's one of those parting thoughts that I pride myself on the fact that I've tried to stay above board. I try to do the right things. I try to do good things. I try to help people out. And all that type of stuff. I think ultimately makes you a better person. But drugs are definitely involved. But to be fair, Margaret, I've done drugs in the past too, right? I'm not a saint, but I definitely had my drug experimentation days. But I'm drug free now. I don't do anything. Heck, I'm even afraid to take an Advil. That's how weird I am around drugs. But anyway, let's go into the drug of choice for today, and that is Google, Alphabet. Man. Talk about really dodging a bullet here. Now, I didn't know the full extent of this one yesterday, which is why I didn't want to comment on it because it came out after the show or during the show, and I don't like to try to do research while I'm live on show because I feel it makes me look stupid. So the gist of it was, there was this fear that Google would have to spin off Chrome, have to sell Chrome, and then possibly even Android as well was part of that one as well. Oh, thanks, Jason. Love you too. And that was like the worst case scenario. Now, when the judge came down with this, I did not read through the whole thing. I was actually going to try to download the judge's report or verdict, if you will. What you would call it. And it's 226 pages. This judge wrote 226 pages on this thing. I'm hoping to use ChatGPT, but my goodness, that is a long report having to deal with Google and Alphabet and this antitrust piece with the government. So the great news, which is why we saw Alphabet absolutely surge. Here's the chart of it, as you guys can see it. It feels like, obviously in hindsight, that people kind of had the gist that this was going to go this way and that they weren't going to get broken up. So all of a sudden, this spikes. And what was really interesting is reading through some of the comments that were made by the judge. I don't know if you guys read through it or heard pieces of it. But the judge was saying that by breaking it up could actually do more harm than good. And part of that is Google spends $26 billion a year to ensure that its browser is used on things like the iPhone or other devices. You're paying that. And when you start to remove that, the judge was worried that that may have long-term effects for other businesses. If Google just pocketed that money and didn't like spend it out in the industry, then it may actually hurt the markets because 26 billion is no drop in the bucket. And of course, you look at who the biggest beneficiary of that spending is, it's Apple. So here you can see today, great move up in Google. We had a 9% jump today. It's up a little bit more in the after-hour session, but you look at other ones like Apple. Apple was up 3.8%. Why? Because that verdict by the judge essentially says that Apple can continue to receive how much it receives from Google. Out of that $26 billion a year that Google spends to ensure that it's locked in browsers, just type into chat any guesses on how much of that $26 billion goes to Apple a year. Any guesses? The Verge is larger than JFK. Good one, Andres. Maybe. Let's see. You guys get some great comments while I wait for your numbers to be typed in. Seen today, 2/3 of the world's population uses Chrome. Not sure if that's true, but that's a ton of... I don't know about that either, Stephen, but I know I use it, and I got to say I hate it. I don't like Chrome. I feel it's invasive. It's intrusive. It's always asking for my passwords. If you guys are running Chrome right now, if you go Control-Alt-Delete and go to Task Manager and look at how much RAM and memory Google is using, even if you have one browser window open, it's using tons of your resources. Yeah, Google pays Apple $20 billion a year to make sure it's used on their devices. That is crazy. Tim says, I started using Brave. I like Brave as well. I've heard when we had Natalie, oh man, I can't remember her last name. She was all about spying and privacy. She was talking about using DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo apparently has much better privacy features built in than Brave. They're both good, but apparently DuckDuckGo is a good choice. And I have not made the switch. I guess it's so easy. The way that Chrome sets up everything, when I log into different websites, just log in with Chrome, and it just makes it seamless, which is so easy. So easy. I try to use Brave because I have that on this computer up here. That's probably my battery in my phone goes on. All right. So all in all, what does this mean? This means a lot for tech. When we look at the settlement for Google, obviously they're not going to get broken up. What they did have to do is they do have to provide certain data. So there's going to be some shared data that must be opened up to the public. Now, here's where things get rather interesting. So if you look at the competitors, and I saw some people type in Firefox and Chrome and DuckDuckGo and Brave, those browsers may now have access to a different set of data, right? There might be some new pieces, some new functionality that are built in, and the ability for those browsers to have more features, functionality, etc. But does a browser like Brave really stand up to Chrome? I don't think so. It certainly has some better privacy features, but does it stand up? Now, here's where I think things are going to change, and I think Don Fron would talk about this as well. When you look at your typical browsers, DuckDuckGo, Firefox, Brave, Chrome, they are, here's what I hate about them. I'm going to just do a quick search. I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to type in, what's something I should search for? What's something I'm interested in? How about this? Since I'm looking to gain some weight, how about best way to gain muscle mass quickly? N-I-X-E-R-C-S. Okay, so here I'm doing a search for it, and I'm searching for best way to gain muscle mass quickly when I exercise daily, right? I hit enter, and here's the problem. It gives you a short little synopsis, and this is kind of something new here. That Google uses AI as the first result, and I think that's kind of changing. But, the competitors, when we start to look at the competition, I don't believe that the true competition for Google is Brave, DuckDuckGo, Firefox, or any of those things. I think it's going to be like Perplexity or ChatGPT or XAI. So I can go out there to something like, let me bring it up here for you. We'll go to my ChatGPT. Uh-oh. Are you guys getting the stream? YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth streaming. Such viewers will experience problems today. All right, well, Well, hopefully it's going to fix itself here. I don't know why that is. But if I go to ChatGPT and I type that in there, not only does it give me everything I'm looking for, but it literally tells me all of the pieces I want. So here I've got the training I need to do. I've got the nutrition I need to take, the recovery, the supplements, all of this. And you can see here it says immediately, do you want me to put together a 7-day muscle building workout with daily tailored? And I'm going to type in this. I'm going to go, no, I do F45 7 days a week. What I want is nutrition. So it'll go and it'll tell me what F45 is. It knows it. So the point I'm making at here, spinning periodically. Oh, sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. The point I'm making here is I think that once these data sets are open, these gateways are open into Google, that Perplexity, XAI, ChatGPT are now going to have far greater information. And to me, it's going to start to push further down that route. Like, I mean, you guys saw just in a couple seconds here what I've been doing. I told ChatGPT, no, I'm doing F45. It already knows that's a high intensity interval training, resistance training as well. So now it's giving me a full protein intake, calorie intake. And if I put in my age and other things here, it's giving me a custom tailored search based off all the internet information. Whereas browsing, as many of you know, when you browse, the browser is like, it just shows you hundreds of websites that all have this information. Now I have to go figure out what the heck I want out of it. This technology here with ChatGPT and XAI and Perplexity is definitely causing me to use Chrome less. I don't use Google as much as I used to. I really find no need for it if I can find it on ChatGPT. And if those portals are open for more data, better. Now, Toby says search has nothing to do with the browser. Only the default needs to be changed. Okay. But it's the tracking of information. Now, of course, ChatGPT and Perplexity and XAI are also going to be tracking information. But at some point down the road, I believe we're going to start to get large language models that are privacy focused. Something like a DuckDuckGo, but for AI. It basically like I have my own personal agent here. You know, and again, I've shown you this before. If you guys are not using AI tools like ChatGPT or Grok, I mean, what are you waiting for? This is, I hate to say it, if anybody here is a nutritionist or a personal trainer, I can, in a couple of clicks, find out what the ideal workout is for me to target any specific muscle group with pictures of the exercises, a daily workout plan, a meal prep plan with all the ingredients. I can have it send to my phone the shopping list. Google doesn't do that. And I think that that's going to be a big challenge going forward. So I'm still bullish on Google for now because they has a huge victory here. And I think that's going to continue to push them higher and higher and higher. But taking a zoom out here on the weekly time frame, just so you can see the bigger picture. There you go. You know, Google, all-time highs and not looking back at all the way back to its 2014 beginnings, looking absolutely fantastic. And this week, of course, is a giant one for Google. So all in all, a great victory. I think it's great for the markets. I think it's great for tech sector because it continues that spending. It removes their competitive advantage just a little bit. But all in all, I still think it's a very, very busy day for, a good day for Google. As I said, I set Perplexity as my, I didn't know you could set your default browser as Perplexity. I mean, you can. But see, I don't know if I would call Perplexity a browser. I don't know. I would call it an agent, right? Like I wouldn't call ChatGPT a browser. I'd call it an agent because it feels like it's someone working for me to summarize all that internet data and say, here's what you're looking for exactly. Man, the time I'm saving by using ChatGPT and Grok is just exponential, absolutely exponential. And if anybody has any health issues, for example, you guys know I got a bunch of blood taken. Last week, I'm going to get some more blood taken this week. I've taken my results, put them into ChatGPT, excuse me, and said, analyze this. Tell me what I need to work on. What I need to, am I looking to sell puts on either? No, not after a gap up like this. A gap up like this, I'm certainly not looking to sell puts. The premium is just, there's no premium in it. And I do like Gemini. I do like Gemini quite a bit. Gemini's, and I think what will happen ultimately, guys, is Google, when you do your searches on Google, it'll do more of what ChatGPT is doing up here in that initial AI window. It'll give you, a much more detailed plan. And I can deep dive with AI, but It still is. I got to go watch this 10 years of muscle building advice in 23 minutes. Okay. All of this stuff, if I really wanted to, I could go watch each one of those. But now I guess I'm just lazy and going to just go look at AI and pull up the quick and dirty, easy answer. Okay. Let's move on. So obviously great for Google. I think it's great for tech. If we look at the Magnificent Seven today, they were all doing pretty good, except NVIDIA, which I did not sell puts on today. I was waiting to, but I just did not. I'll go from top to bottom, bottom to top. Here's your NVIDIA chart. Nothing to be worried about yet, okay? The important part is that NVIDIA has not broken down below that 168 level. Yes, it tiptoed across it yesterday, but didn't close below it. So not bad. It's still holding that demand zone. What we'd like to see is it start to tick up. The longer it stays in that yellow box, on the top yellow box there, the more likely it's going to break down below it and eat through that area of demand. So for NVIDIA right now, especially longs out there, I know Big Ab and myself, we've got some NVIDIA long positions and a few of the others. Be careful here. This is an interesting moment for NVIDIA where I thought today we'd actually see a nice little rally on this one. Didn't get it today. I was the only one of the Magnificent Seven that was down. Microsoft also pretty much break even, but notice Microsoft has not closed below those lows, but it's certainly broken them a few times. That is not a good sign, right? If you are going all the way down below a demand zone, and you've done it multiple times, kind of the core principles of demand is that there's unfilled orders there, unfilled buy orders. Well, if you go all the way through a zone, those orders are not there anymore. And this does paint a very bad picture for Microsoft that it's not rallying out of that yellow demand zone between $500 and $506. And remember, this is your second most valuable company in the United States. So you've got NVIDIA exhibiting weakness. You got Microsoft looking pretty weak as well. And the longer it sits here, the more likely it's going to continue to go lower. So not feeling really good on that one. Heading to Touchpoint Trading Company 9. All right, where at, doggo? Where are you at? Let's go Meta. Okay, so Meta, we talked about potentially coming all the way back down that 708 level and closing that gap. Well, we got a little bit of a bounce up today, but I still think you're going to see this drift lower. Atlanta, all right. We'll say hi to the Atlanta peeps for us. You got a good team out there. Yeah, you've got this thing getting weaker and weaker and weaker. I do think the gap's going to fill. And, when I'm looking at these three pictures so far, just our bottom three for today, I've got a bearish signal here for NVIDIA. I've got bearish signals for Microsoft, and I got a bearish signal going on for Meta. Not feeling that comfortable. Maybe that show yesterday on buying protection may be a little bit more relevant than it was the day before. Getting into our top four for the Magnificent Seven, Amazon. All right, now Amazon at least is well off those lows back here. So your strong demand zone is a long ways away, and you guys are going to get a spinning wheel right now. I'm not sure why this is happening today. I did not do a speed test to start my day. Sometimes, I know why. Let me see if I can switch this real quick. I hope that this doesn't interfere with everything. Something may be turned off. Big Eb says it's September, which is bearish to me. Yep. At least you go in with that expectation, right? You go in expecting it to be bearish, and now that kind of all lines up. I do agree with Oliver that Microsoft and NVIDIA should be fine. I'm not. Oliver's going to critique me for being the doom and gloom guy. I'm not, but the price charts are telling me NVIDIA is starting to look a bit weaker, and if it gets below this, then we could definitely play some short side move. But long term, absolutely, Oliver, I got no problem owning long term Microsoft or NVIDIA. However, we could be due for a bit of a pullback here. Just a sentiment of September being the worst. And it's not just that. Look, it's just the picture. I think the picture is, if we looked at this picture right here, it looks amazing. Now all of a sudden the picture has changed a little bit. It's not ugly, but it's just starting to change a little bit. This is Microsoft that we're looking at here. And now it starts to get just a little a little bit worse. Oliver, you kill me. All right, Tesla. So Tesla surprisingly looks better than the other markets. I know it sounds weird, but look what's gone on with Tesla since early July. Tesla has been making higher highs, higher lows. You've got an uptrend going on. It did come under this overhead supply zone, which is right around 352. But all in all, Tesla looks like it's on a fairly decent uptrend for the past 3 months. Great. If Elon Musk can just shut his trap and get to work and not irk anybody, especially the President of the United States, then maybe they can get this back on track. I don't know if you guys saw the demo today. I forgot, it was the CEO of some major company. I forgot which one. But the Optimus robot was there. Pretty cool looking, but it was slow. Its response times were very, very slow. But I think that that's just a matter of time before the response times become almost instant, right? When you ask it a question like, Hey, Optimus, what time is it? Oh, it's da-da-da. Right now, those responses are rather lagging. It was kind of a bad demo, but all in all, there you go. Mark Benoit of Salesforce. Yep, that was the one, Mick. And honestly, if I was to buy that robot, I'd be upset with it. It was that slow. But every year, every few months, the progression gets better and better and better. And pretty soon, that will be instant, real-time speaking back to you. Jason says, isn't the tax EV rebate gone after September? I'm not sure. I do believe I remember hearing that California was going to honor it anyway. I don't know. Maybe I need to just get one. Exactly, make baby steps. We'll get there. You remember, I think, what was it, 2 years ago, guys, where they had the Optimus robot and it was literally some gymnast in a white suit pretending they were a robot? Like, that was stupid. But here we are now with an actual robot that moves, has articulation, can spin, talk. Another year or two, man, that thing is going to be so amazing. Absolutely amazing. All the dealers trying to dump them before the rebate ends. Is that true, Big Eb? So it ends in September? I mean, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to buy a Tesla. Why not? If I can get a great deal on one, I wouldn't mind. My friend's got the X Plaid, and I really like that thing. It's crazy. Yeah, I heard they were honoring it here in California too, but not 100% sure on that one. All right, so I'm moving on up our list. We've got Apple, which, of course, was the big beneficiary from Google today because they get $20 billion of that spending, which is great. Chart looks absolutely fantastic. We were talking like a month and a half ago on how Apple was kind of lagging this market. Now, all of a sudden, with their preferential treatment that they bought from President Trump and with the new money coming in, or the continued money coming in from Alphabet and Google, looking pretty darn good. And you do have some, I would say, your 246 target there for Apple, and that's quite a ways away. I mean, you got about another $8 to get there. So I guess technically, the fact we moved almost $9 today, we could get there tomorrow. But I'm guessing it'll take a little bit longer than that. And finally, we talked about our winner here. Google, all-time highs, looking amazing. Now, I'm going to switch and move over to something else. Something else I think is very impactful for all of us. And I think we have to think about why this is happening. Why is gold absolutely skyrocketing? It looks fantastic. We talked about it getting to all-time highs maybe by in the next couple of weeks. Didn't think it was going to happen in the next couple of days, right? And I've been making the point that we've been stuck on this channel between 3,270 and that high point there. It was lower. It was actually 3,452. Then we put on the all-time high, which we achieved back on August 8th, and we blasted through that. Now, here's where I get a little concerned, because historically we all know why people buy gold. We know why people look for gold. It's a flight to security. I don't care what university you go to, anywhere in the world, gold is always a flight to security. I did not show the chart. Gold is always that flight to security. So there's your gold chart. Sorry if I didn't have it up. I picked the wrong chart. I'm just all over the place today, guys. All right. Here is your gold chart coming up. Now, if we have gold at all-time highs, we know there's institutional demand, we know there's government demand, we know there's retail demand for it. But the fact that we've seen gold surge from this low point here on August 20th to where we closed today, which is only 9 trading sessions, that's almost 1% a day. Almost 1% a day. This has me concerned because what it's telling me is that people are realizing maybe that, I think that Andres brought it up here too. He says, does it have anything to do with the surging budget deficits around the world? Yeah. I think it has a lot to do with people not trusting the governments, not trusting spending, looking at the debt that we're accumulating, not just here in the United States, but other countries around there. And it's not looking good. And the only real justification you can have for gold surging as much as it is that the big money or the institutional money is forecasting bad times ahead. Don't know when that's going to happen here, but typically that's what gold will do, forecast a big market correction. And that is has me a little bit concerned because we're already starting to see a little bit of weakness in the equity markets. You're hearing more and more talk about a weakening labor market, which we can talk about that here in just a second. Andre says, is it too late to get in? I would say so. I would not jump on gold at this point. I'd wait for a rally. I would wait for a pullback on it. Margaret says, crash. I mean, it's tough to say. I think most people would agree. Let me do a poll here. Give me a second to just do a poll on this one, and I will say create the poll, ask my question. All right, so here's my question for you. There's only 2 choices here. I need all of you. If you're just sitting in the office listening haphazardly, just reach over and click that button, yes or no, on this poll. Just curious what you guys think. And I've shown you this before. When we look at something like, let's go to the SPX, right? Look at the S&P 500 cash index. And I'm going to put this on a weekly time frame. When we do this and we go back to the two biggest crashes in my lifetime, I'm not talking Great Depression, I'm talking in my lifetime. The two biggest crashes that I had experienced as a trader were from the year 2000 all the way down to the lows in 2009, which I can't get to click there. That was a 50+% decline in value of the S&P 500. 50%. Then you had another one that happened in 2007 with our financial crisis, which of course is now written about in textbooks. That was a 57% decline. And you look at these things, it's like, oh wow, you had a huge market rally. I mean, right now for the podcasters, what I'm showing you is the market from 1982. It had a pretty consistent uptrend. Of course, you get your Black Friday there or Black Monday. You got some crashes along the way, but really from 1995, when the .com internet era began, you had huge surge up in value, right? It just felt like it was unstoppable. And then the market gave back 50% of that move, big time. Then we started to rally again. We got back up to those highs, and it crashed 57% in the financial crisis. And then here's where I look at this, and I'm like, my goodness, something's wrong here. Okay, so we finally made it back from the peak in the year 2000, March 2000. The peak of the S&P 500 was 1,542. Well, we got to that number just barely in 2007. So really 7 years to get back to break even, but then it sold off 57%. Then it took another 5 years. So really 13 years till you started making a profit. This is why I think buy and hold doesn't work. But then look what happens. You look at what's gone on since 2009 to where we are today. And I contend, and I don't think anyone can argue this, that this looks scary. Like that there's just got to be a reprieve for these markets, that they've been just completely inflated. And what was it, guys? It was back here in 2009. We did quantitative easing, rounds 1, round 2, round 3. We did Operation Twist. We flooded the market with so much money, right? Devalued the dollar. And then, of course, when we had our pandemic here in 2020, we increased the money supply by $17 trillion in 3 months, right? So to me, it's like, holy cow, these market rallies look, I guess, somewhat normal, but when you put into perspective, the two biggest crashes in my lifetime that I remember, obviously 87, I was around, but I wasn't trading in 87. That 2000 crash, that was monstrous. And the financial crisis, brutal. We haven't seen really anything like it. And I don't know. I'm in the camp of, I think that there's just, given the fact we've been printing all this money and flooding the markets with the money and propping it up with buying mortgage-backed securities and giving out $1,200 checks to the average Americans on non-repayable loans. That type of propping up a market doesn't last forever. All right, I'm ending did everybody do the poll? I'm going to end it here. I got half of you did. Half of you did. All right, I'm going to end it. So 60% of you said yes, we're due for a big crash. And I'm in that camp. I just having a hard time figuring out what it's going to be. Right? Because there's so much money tied into these markets. There's so much capital in the markets. And how do you get these markets to crash? You get the markets to crash by people selling. So if people don't sell their shares, their 401ks, their IRAs, their holdings, that doesn't create that downward pressure. Now, what could happen is you could get an institutional orchestrated event where they just say, okay, let's just start dumping. And that causes people to panic. And all of a sudden, things might, plummet much faster. But I don't see the cracks so far economically. I think we're making a big mistake with interest rates, which we can talk about here in just a second. But I do think that we're due for one. I think we're long overdue. And some of you might reference this, most recent one and go, well, that was a crash. Okay, we sold off 21%. I'm talking a 30, a 40, a 50. It could be crypto. I don't see that happening just because of who's at the helm right now and he's pushing crypto. I mean, I just read a thing today that his son made, $600 million off of a new company, ABTC. It's a brand new one. Let's go ABTC. This is a shell corporation. Just went public. And his, I think it's Eric Trump, owns a whole ton of this thing. I think he's at 7.5% of this company. So we made $600 million today just on this little IPO day for Griffin Digital Mining. But right now, I think that Trump's going to do everything to prop up crypto because his whole family and himself are making billions and billions and billions of dollars off of it. I mean, look, I hate to say it, but if I'm president of the United States and I got multiple kids and family members and we're all tied heavily into crypto, I'm going to do whatever it takes to prop up that, right? Yeah, the sons not own it, they own a big chunk of it, a proportion of it, yeah. Mick says, crash, eventually you will be right. Totally. I will be right. At some point in the course of history, I will be right that we're going to get a big market crash. And it's just a matter of time. You know, when you have the market that's moved up as much as this one has, I just play a probability game in my head, and it just feels like, what sort of fuel are we going to get? I've mentioned this in the past, that I do believe that one of the things that's going to challenge us is going to be AI. I do think that AI is going to, down the road, not now, but it's going to be an issue with jobs. It's going to be an issue with unemployment. It's going to be an issue with where are these jobs going to go? I mean, I just look at as I mentioned, the writing out a full workout health plan, diet plan. I can do that in under 10 minutes now, when normally I have to pay a nutritionalist to come and help me figure out what all my dietary needs are and restrictions. I can just put it all in the system, bam, spits it out in 10 seconds. Amazing. Ted, I think we're a hair trigger away from a drop. Administration is too crazy. I mean, it's not just the administration, it's the policies, it's the international stuff. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces here. And look, I'm not, as Oliver will tell you, or as Oliver will promote, I am not the doom and gloom guy. I'm just always trying to be prepared for the crash. I always tell people this, that in my early days as a trader, I was only focused on how much money I could make. Because of course that's why you're trading, right? You're always trading. And I could go back to actually the old CEO of Trading Academy, good riddance. He would always, I was held back from being in an executive role, executive leadership at Trading Academy because of my attitude. And he always would tell me, you're negative. You're always negative. And I said, hold on a second here. I'm not negative. When I come to you at this company with a problem, I look at it from two perspectives. We can focus on what the company is doing right and continue doing things right. That's great. And we can also focus on what we're doing wrong. And if we can remove what we're doing wrong, that typically is a greater drawdown than improving what we're doing right. So if I can get rid of our headwinds, meaning the problems at the company, then we should be able to move much smoother, faster, and get to bigger levels. So for me, I was always critiquing what we needed to improve, not focusing on the stuff that's already working. And he didn't like that at all. And he kind of pushed me aside. But remember, what's my job? My job is I'm a trader. So as a trader, is it more important to focus on doing the right things that you're already doing correctly, just keep doing this correctly, or focusing on what's costing you money? And in my opinion, it's what's costing me money. So if I look at this weekly time frame of the S&P 500, it looks bullish to me. No problem here. It looks like we're going to keep on going. When I break it down into a smaller time frame, I start to feel like it's not that bad, but it's starting to show a little bit of signs of weakness. And as someone who is responsible for my own accounts, and that's my livelihood, I don't want to be in a position where all of a sudden this market breaks to the downside. I've got overexposure, which I do have pretty big exposure right now, and take massive losses, right? Because so far I've got some very good gains for the year. Of course, I'll share those with you at the end of the year. Knock on wood. Hopefully they maintain and grow. But my job is to focus on making sure I don't take big losses. So when Oliver, prods me, call me the doom and gloom guy, I'm not. I just want to be aware. I don't want to be so blinded by an unbelievably bullish market that I forget about the downside. I have to be aware of that downside of the market. So if it happens, I can change very quickly. And usually I'll be changing before the average person is even thinking about changing direction. So I'll already be going short or hedging my portfolio as other people are scrambling to buy it. I've already done it. Golf shirt day. I don't know. I was going to the light, comfortable shirt today. I don't know. It was funny. My buddy was telling me, he goes, if you're out in the dating scene now, he goes, you got to wear more form-fitting stuff. He's critiquing me for my baggy clothes, so maybe I'll go shopping this weekend. All right, let me see here, Joe. I got your question too on the crypto stuff. I may have to think about that one quite a bit. That was a pretty complex question. Joe says maybe we buy deep out of the money puts with an expiration date out a year. That was kind of the focus of yesterday, is how do you hedge? When you think that the market's going to have a pretty significant correction, buying puts like on a day like today, buying puts is great because you had a nice big gap up and the market held there for the SPX. So, the premium for buying deep out of the money puts is going to be a lot less. So, yeah, I do think so, Joe. If you're in that mindset that we're probably going to have a correction at some point, the chart feels like it's setting up that way. Again, when I look at the economic data, it seems okay to me right now. We'll see what happens with the unemployment rate on Friday, which right now is expected to go from 4.2 to 4.3%. That's not very good either. So we'll see how that one pans out. But yeah, that's definitely one way to do it. Mick, I've not been hanging out with John O'Donnell at all, actually. I reached out to him to see if I can get him back on the show. That's the media hoping so. See, how do they miss the Crypt Keeper before? When does Larry say the market is giving a sell signal? I actually reached out to Larry to see if I can get him on the program today. I'm going to have John Rowland on the program, and he's on tomorrow. John Rowland is on the show tomorrow. I don't want to forget that. So John Rowland will be on the show tomorrow. I've got Mike Larson of The Money Show, and he's got a show as well. I'm going to have him on in a couple of weeks. I'm going to have Bill Addis on. I'm going to try to bring on more guests. I reached out today, Margaret. I got more guests coming. More guests. I'm the Tom Lee. I love it. Be the Tom Lee all the time, Oliver. I appreciate it. This should help with employment and stabilize U.S. economy. Which part, Doggo? Which part did you say? But if several trillions being collected via tariffs sticks with the Supreme Court, hopefully a good decision will help decrease the debt. Plus, this is all these companies coming back to the United States. I think that's the perception that the government wants you to believe. Look, if you're making all these money, this billions and billions in tariffs, you're paying it. So that leads to inflation. So yes, the government's making a ton of money on tariffs. You're paying it. I'm paying it. Right? When the price of a car goes up 20% and the government says, hey, we're tariffing that vehicle 20% coming from Japan or wherever, government takes that 20% and the government's like, yay, we made a bunch of money. When that car goes to your Toyota dealership, that 20% gets tacked on. You are paying it. Period. Now, some businesses might try to eat a little bit of that cost, but ultimately, you're paying it. Right? You are paying those tariffs. So what does that do? That causes inflation. And we've already saw our PPI number come out at 0.9%, which was like a Macaulay Culkin face, right? Like, oh my God, 0.9. Now, not this week. I believe next week. Let me verify this. Next week, we have our next PPI number coming out. And if that number comes out anywhere close to 0.9, we're not getting a rate cut on the 17th. We're not. If that number comes out that high again, there's not a chance in hell that's going to happen. Let me bring it up here, and we'll show you what's happening the week of the 10th. So here's when our PPI number comes out. Right? PPI number comes out Wednesday, September 10th. If this number comes out anywhere close to 0.9%, 0.9, there is no way the Fed's cutting rates. Absolutely not. And right now, I think it's a 97% probability. If that PPI doesn't get revised down or it stays where it's at, there's no way the Fed would cut knowing they got back-to-back readings on producer price index of 0.9. It's just not possible. They would be stupid to do that. Right? That's showing inflationary pressure. And remember, the wild card that Jerome Powell's been talking about, even at the latest meeting and at Jackson Hole, was the uncertainty of tariffs. Right now, we're looking at a 95.6% probability of a 25 basis point cut on September 17th. If that PPI number or CPI number are highly elevated, gone. They will forego that. It will stay right where it's at. And then the discussion will be, what do we do October 29th? Right? What are we going to do that next meeting? We got three more meetings before the end of the year, right? You got September 17th, October 29th, and December 10th. That's it. I do think we'll get a cut by the end of the year. But again, inflation and jobs are the only two things that the Fed is supposed to care about. That's it. We're seeing unemployment rise slowly, but not bad. And inflation has been steady, but now is all of a sudden starting to creep up again. And the tariffs are certainly going to be a big part of that. You hear more and more retailers saying we're raising our prices. Well, that's inflation. So, yeah, I don't know. Part of me is saying that I got this gut feeling that we're going to get bad CPI and PPI data, and we're not going to cut rates in September. And that could be a market sell-off piece. Besant lies. Wouldn't surprise. Besant's businesses are, oh yeah. Andres, that's total BS. Besant says businesses are paying the tariffs. No, they're not. They may, again, if it's a 20% increase in the cost of that car, maybe the dealer cuts 1% or 2%, takes that, but you're paying the lion's share of it. Absolutely. There's no way. No way. Will the government allow the true CPI and PPI numbers to be released, or will we see numbers on an audience of one? That's a good question, Les. And again, I don't have an answer for that one, right? I have no answer for that because I don't trust the system anyway. I don't trust that the data coming out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BEA, is accurate and on point. And honestly, there's no way for you and I to verify that data, right? I can just go off of what I know. I never know. I just go off what I can see firsthand expenses. And by the way, my Habit Burger was now almost $16. So since 2020, it's 100% increase in price for that one. Which bet, Big F? Big F, 2 cuts by year end. They say Trump's tariffs are illegal and have to be paid back. Yeah, I saw that too. They're going back and forth. I don't know if it's necessarily illegal, but again, I'm not a judge. I'm not a legal expert. But if that somehow were to change, then this could really create market chaos if all of a sudden we had to pay that back. Big Eb says he wants a new bet. What's the bet, Big Eb? What's the big bet? Type the bet in the chat. Maybe I'll take it. I'm down for another beer or two. But this time I'm let's see. Okay, so this will be a real interesting one. Again, next week is really the most exciting one. 2 cuts by year end. 2 cuts by year end, huh? I mean, the odds are in your favor. If you look at the year end probability right now, I'm already like betting against the curve because right now there is a 47% chance of 2 rate cuts by the year end. There's actually a 42% chance of 3 by year end. Oh man, that's a tough bet to take. All right. You're on, Big Eb. I think we're going to get 1. I don't think we're going to get 2. So, book it. And by the way, this time, Big Eb, it's the whole meal. It's lunch and beers. So I don't want to let this segregated check thing where I just bought the beers and you got dinner, okay? So we're going to have to split. Whoever loses, it's dinner and drinks. The whole tab. I'm shaking. There we go. Deal. On it. All right, good. Oh, come on, pal. Don't let me down. I can't lose another bet. All right. Let me move on there from that one. I think that pretty much was it for today. What time we got? Oh, yeah, we're already 45 after. As far as other market moving pieces, we talked about gold. We didn't talk about... let's go to Margaret wanted SLV. I'll just bring up silver here. And I had argued that silver is telling you the same thing. It's a flight to safety. Silver is like Litecoin to Bitcoin's gold. This is the little brother to gold. It's the same thing. Silver has been that, not as clear cut as gold has over the years, but it's that inflation hedge. That's that they're going to tangible items you can hold. Physical commodities, gold, silver, platinum, palladium. I've not looked at the other metals here real quick. I usually don't, but here's platinum. I mean, the last 2 days of platinum have been pretty dang fantastic as well. Really over the past week's been great. Here's palladium. I mean, this is telling us a lot. All in the precious metals rocking, silver rocking, nickel. Who trades nickel, and then copper. Well, copper moving up as well, but that's a pretty wild one. But yeah, the silver one tells me the same thing, that we've got potential inflation issues, that people are nervous, that they're moving away. So, all right, and let's go back to Bitcoin. The good news is Bitcoin held that level. Trust me, I'm waiting with bated breath. Now, I'd like to see by close of day tomorrow, us above this candle from August 28th. So if we can get above and close above 114.250, I'll feel very confident. Right now, I feel like we're still in this kind of downtrending mood for Bitcoin. Not sure exactly why, but if we can get above that 114.250, I think we'll be in a much better place. And I do think that if that happens, that by the end of September, we will be back at all-time highs, and there could be a big surge. I mean, I'm seeing some other experts out there. I hate to say the word expert. I'll say influencers, right? And some of these influencers are like, oh, yeah, well, if this thing starts to rally, we could be at $1 million by Christmas. Like, come on a second. Gee, slow down, dude. You got to be logical. At least when I made my forecast for 250, I had numbers, statistics, and data to back it up. Most of these influencers on social media, I want to punch them in the face because they just go, oh, Cardano's going to go to 750,000. With no reason, no justification. They just throw a number out there to pump people up. 250 was a lofty goal for this year. I don't think it's done, but the probability of us getting that level are pretty darn slim. I mean, we'd have to have a 100% gain from this level, and it could happen, right? It could happen, but I doubt it. I doubt we'll get 250. If we can get to 160, I'd be very happy with that. The question is, do we get the 4-year cycle? Does it crash again? And I don't think it's going to. If it does, it's because of Michael Saylor. All right, let's go look at your economic calendar for today. Of course, we did have some jobs data. You have the our first piece for the week. It wasn't very good. Let's go back to the calendar here and show you what the numbers were for today. Then we'll dive into tomorrow. They weren't that good. We were expected to go from 7.36 million. They thought an increase to 7.38, ended up being 7.18. So 200,000 less than expectations. Not horrible. And from what I'm seeing, a lot of it was in construction. I wonder if the ICE raids are having their impact. You had factory orders today, which were right in line with expectations, and everything else was in line with expectations, so no big deal. Now, if we look for tomorrow, bigger jobs data. 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time. ADP non-farm employment change will be coming out. That's expected to show a contraction as well. So that could be a second piece of bad jobs data. This one's much more important than the JOLTS job opening, so keep your eye on that one. That's before market opens. You also have the unemployment claims, which are expected to tick up by 1,000, but that's not that big a deal. It's really all about that ADP non-farm employment change. And if you're looking for industries, the ISM services PMI numbers and final service PMI numbers are coming out tomorrow. Those are all within 15 minutes of each other. And one last little thing here, crude oil. Crude oil is also expected to release data tomorrow, as well as natural gas storage. Now, if you look at crude oil, you saw a big drop today in crude oil. We broke above this yellow zone, and it just came ripping back down. I'm going to get rid of that yellow zone. It means nothing anymore, in my opinion. Marcus' immigration lawyer is doing very well. Yeah, I would imagine so. That's a good time for them. So yesterday, we had a really nice big up day for crude oil. Today, gave it all back. Every single penny of it was given back in one day. What was the other one? UNG. I'll just bring up, I have the natural gas futures here. Where's my natural gas? There's natural gas. So natural gas has actually been on a pretty nice bounce for the past 7 sessions. We've been right around 2.65. Now we're at 3.05. So good move up there, natural gas. John Rowland, who will be on the program tomorrow, is forecasting that was the bottom and that we're going to see more upside here for natural gas. We'll talk about that with John Rowland tomorrow. So that's your major economic announcement stuff. Nothing else. Let me go and bring up your earnings calendar here as well so you can take a peek at what's happening from earnings front. Macy's reported earnings today, but who cares, right? It's Macy's. Come on. Lululemon reports. Broadcom is the big one in the tech sector, at least for me. And what else do you have? Yeah, that's pretty much it. You had Copart, Guidewire. Lululemon is pretty much it for tomorrow. So there you go. That will do it for today's show, everyone. Thanks for the staying with me with the spinning wheel. I'm not sure why it switched over. And now, for some reason, that I have different networks here, and it switched back to the good one. So you're all on the good network now. For some reason, it switched to a bad network. One day I'll get that all fixed. So thank you guys so much. If you have something you want to discuss on tomorrow's show, you can send it on in at TraderMerlin@gmail.com or put it down below any of the YouTube videos. I will answer those questions there. As it goes, let's go gold, let's go Bitcoin, and hope we have a great day tomorrow. Take care, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.